connect with them. And after writing the book, I met many others who were close to those who knew him. I have treasured these hallowed encounters immeasurably, though I have not mentioned most of them until now. It was on a sun-filled April day in 2008 that Renate Bethge, Dietrich's niece and the widow of his best friend Eberhard Bethge, greeted me and my wife, Suzanne, at the door of her home near Bonn. I remember first beholding with my own eyes the flaxen white hair and piercing blue eyes of Dietrich's maternal von Hase genes, unmistakable in the woman standing before me in her entrance hall, who with typical German brusqueness apologized for her appearance and scuttled away to set the table. Here was the woman who had been a young woman in her parents' and grandparents' homes, side by side on Marienburger Allee in the Charlottenburg district of Berlin, where so many of the scenes in Bonhoeffer's story, some quotidian and some historic, unfolded. When the vast, happy family gathered for birthday celebrations, she had often been the one to play the piano. Like her uncle, she was something of a virtuoso, and there in the room with us I saw the piano she still played, linking us to those extraordinary times. Frau Bethge, as I called her that day, had in 1944 ridden in the car to deliver to the brave Tegel prison guard Knobloch those things necessary for Dietrich to make his escape shortly after the failed July 20th plot. But he never took this opportunity for fear of further endangering his brother Klaus, his brother-in-law Hans von Dohnanyi, and his brother-in-law Rüdiger Schleicher, Renate's father, all central figures in the plot against Hitler and all later tortured and killed by the Nazis. Our hostess had lost her father and two beloved uncles in those years. But just before these sadnesses, she had at the tender age of 16 married Eberhard, their wedding sermon penned by Dietrich himself, then already imprisoned and unable to attend. It is now a classic of 20th century letters, and here was the woman at whose nuptials those words were first read, when the hope was still very bright that its author would be released to marry his own young fiancée, Maria von Wedemeyer, and that he and Eberhard and their beautiful young wives would be able to enjoy the decades ahead together. The house that day was just as it had been when her husband passed away in 2000. Bonhoeffer had written his now famous letters and papers from prison to Eberhard, who in releasing them had introduced his valorous genius friend to the wide world. Only 8 years earlier, Eberhard had sat on the couch where we sat, taking Kaffee und Kuchen from these self-same cups and plates. And it was from his widow's lips now that I received first-hand stories and impressions and first heard the name of the woman her uncle dated throughout his 20s and whom he had almost married, Elizabeth Zinn. Until 2008, it would have been somehow unseemly and awkward to mention her relationship to Dietrich and to include her name in a book, principally because Germans can be extremely private about such things. Perhaps there was some embarrassment about it since they traveled in similar social and academic circles. So Eberhard Bethge's own unsurpassable 1967 biography did not mention her name, nor had any subsequent books. But by the time I visited Frau Bethge, she obviously felt that enough time had passed and she could share it with me, someone whom she had only just met. So I thought it was right for me to include it, and I did, proud that in this very smallest way I might have added something to Bonhoeffer's studies going forward. The day before, Suzanne and I had visited Maria von Wedemeyer's eldest sister, Ruth Alice von Bismarck, then in her late 80s. After the war and Dietrich's death, Maria had moved to America, where she attended Bryn Mawr and had gone on to make a name for herself as the first female head of a department at Bell and Howell in Massachusetts. She was married twice and had 2 boys before dying.